This is Matt once again, and we are coming from Refocusing Barbados. This past week I've had a lot to reflect upon, and there were many things that I was reminiscing about, and one of the things that I have been thinking about most is the almost departure of Mr. Arthur more or less from the political scene. I am not sure this is a good thing for us as a country. For sure, I know it's not a good thing for the Barbados Labour Party. But I am aware that many brilliant ideas are destroyed on the political battlefield. They have come from extraordinary minds to inspire and shape a people who so necessarily need the leadership of these men and women. I can recall one such idea. In the 2008 election, Mr. Arthur spoke of going for the gold. But what he required of us was not impossible, but very improbable. He would have required 20 more years of sterling leadership and the full engagement of an entire nation, which is difficult in a deeply polarized country such as ours. However, if the administration of 2008 to 2013 had clearly understood the brilliance of this idea, surely our economic struggles would not have been what they are now. This shows a deep flaw in the Barbadian psyche. We are not an idealist people. Wouldn't it have been better for us to have stayed the course rather than clamor for an unsustainable path of freeness? It clearly shows that our country has to build out its potential rather than flirt with the dangerous path of a money-consuming social agenda. A social agenda requires an extremely sound economy. Social agendas are not money-earning ideas. They are money-consuming ideas. Mr. Arthur wanted to build a Barbados brand. It is very unfortunate that his own party has not caught that brilliant vision. Maybe a lot of that fault rests with Mr. Arthur himself. A vision cannot be fully shared during a short 3-week election cycle. It requires a lot of time and national engagement. We have missed a golden opportunity to take a small nation to the level of great nations who all have a brand. The German brand is efficiency. The Japanese have total quality. And the Jews have resilience and innovation. We are mired in the wrong place. This discussion needs to move from who is too old or even too corrupt to what is the vision for our country. Can we get the home, the church, the school, and our political leaders to share this vision? We need a brand. Who do we have out there to create that vision, share it, and then engage us? There is no vision, so our calling programs are reduced to political name blame. Moderators seem to lack the capacity to steer callers away from the ordinary everyday ramshot talk to the level where they are engaged in a discussion that focuses the attention of callers on a vision for our country. I would hate to think that we have seen the last of Mr. Arthur, a remarkable man in every respect. I have always believed that our country has no room for older people. we tend to discard older people. Mr. Arthur is gone, much to the joy of his own party. But do they understand that he takes with him a remarkable record of public service and stewardship? Do they understand that their lack of sense of continuity? Do they understand he has walked away with all of his knowledge as a brilliant leader? This is so sad. All of the enduring societies of our world embrace their retired folk. They are revered. My advice to Barbados is stop and think. He is a wonderful resource. Pull him back. Hear him. I had an old friend, Barty Bryan. I used to visit his home and chat with him. And before I would leave, Barty would say to me, B, take your time and walk fast. That was wisdom. Barbados, move very quickly. We still need him. We must understand that leadership requires tremendous discipline. People need direction, my father once told me. And that direction must come from a disciplined leader. If the leader is not disciplined, the organization that he leads will also not be disciplined. An organization usually rallies around a leader, and they become angry when he is angry, energized when he is energized. I have a very big fear. The BLP candidates and prospective candidates seem not to be very different from the members of the DLP in terms of depth and quality. What then portends for this country? I am yet to see an outstanding intellect. Or is it the intention to have subjects who do not possess the intellectual capacity that is required of them, but rather to have them follow blindly? This makes the leader look good. I saw this playing out in 2008 and signaled to my friend that our country was in trouble. None believed me. How can a shallow man lead brilliant men? Only by the use of hypnosis or tyranny. Brilliant leaders engage their people. Poor leaders engage themselves. Only when the people are engaged can they be inspired. The mistake the BLP has made is not very obvious now, but soon it will be. You cannot wait until an election cycle, then give a country your vision. It is necessary for them to see the vision early so that they can become engaged and then are willing to follow your lead. The next election seems to be on the path of the visionless. This means we would have had 3 consecutive elections before the clear vision. If we are content to promote ourselves, it is only obvious that our intentions are not in line with the country's needs. A heavy self-concentration reveals an insecure mind. Insecure leaders are usually the poorest leaders. Why would the BLP refuse to allow or even ask Mr. Arthur to help rebuild the great party that he once led? Maybe he would have wanted it done his way. Probably. But I have learned that anything can be negotiated. Building a party calls for patience, vision, and discipline. Where does the BLP stand in any of these 3 areas? If Ms. Motley believes that Owen Arthur's resistance to her was a distraction, then she's ill-prepared for her real enemies. She missed the golden opportunity to hone her skill as a political leader under the hottest fire. Steel sharpens steel. And Mr. Arthur's resistance should have brought out of her organizational skills, but she failed. Mr. Arthur's opposition should have made her focus, organized, and disciplined. Did it? This was missed by her supporters. Now she is left without that critical eye to be who she might not want to be. but to be what she cannot afford to be. Again, I say this is dangerous. If it were a situation where a person with the technological experience is required, I could understand. Or were it a case that we have persons who already have a track record in the experience, I could also understand. But neither of these two situations exist. What we are missing is that this man is brilliant, experienced, and capable, and more eminently qualified than anyone in Parliament. How can we say he's too old? What rubbish. Does age equate with the quality of a man's mind, or should it equate with wisdom? We have a brilliant quality resource. Why at this time we would want to experiment with a fragile economy? Haven't we learned from the failed 2008 experiment? Haven't we paid a big enough price for other awful exercise and folly? I am baffled. Do not place error upon error. Go back for Mr. Arthur. I cannot say this enough. The only difference between the 2008 David Thompson and the 2014 Mayor Motley is gender. They both have the same handicap, a lack of economic and financial experience. And we still want to discard the Caribbean's best economists? What does this say about us? I will make this prediction. It will be very soon reach that stage with our economic and national fortunes that we will ask for him again. Watch out though. Certain elements within our community will push back to anoint their own, but God will prevail. There are 270,000 plus in this country, but millions are on their knees every day praying and interceding on our behalf. I know God will eventually have his way. I will agree with Mr. Peter Booz when he said we need national reform, but I will go further. We need very urgently an interim administration. An interim administration would allow us to make the difficult decisions without having to worry about their effect on the political capital of both parties. Mr. Arthur is in the right place at this time. The BLP cannot accept, the BLP and not accepting Mr. Arthur is actually very good for the country. This may seem exaggerated, but judging from the performance of this parliament, one Mr. Arthur is worth more than the other 29 in Parliament. A great leader can get average players on the team to be inspired to do great things for that team. But a poor leader cannot inspire himself nor his players. The result is mediocrity. And this is the problem in our country. I would love someone to do an analysis of the performance of students in primary and secondary schools at the UE, SJPP, and the community college during the recessions of the 70s, 90s, and now. I would not be surprised if the scores at all levels were poor. I would not be surprised if 11 plus exams were deliberately made easier, nor will I be surprised that pass marks were lowered to allow some students to pass. If the government is mediocre, it will filter down to all areas of our country. That is affected by direct government. And this is one of the reasons why the central bank's reports come under fire after they are made. If a leader of any organization embraces excellence, then that leader ensures that all departments within the organization also embrace excellence. Excellence will saturate the entire organization. We must understand that excellence is not a destination. It is a mindset. The first order of business for a good leader is to pick a good team. A team that is results oriented. Not men or women with fat egos or hidden agenda, but having a zero tolerance for mediocrity. In dominoes, if you want to have a great chance of winning, you must first pick a good hand. This is the very reason why I'm asking for an interim administration. I will go a bit further, give Mr. Arthur the job to head an interim administration and let him pick his team. Already we know that he is no nonsense. And this is what we need at this moment. Mr. Arthur will hit the ground running because he has the experience. He is respected, will be able to attract international investment. He knows how to run an economy. He is the real boss man. We have to reform all major institutions to 1, put the country on a sound economic and social platform. 2, to change our attitudes towards education and business. 3, to develop a Barbados brand that will ignite the creative energies of our people. 4, to change the dynamics of our political culture. 5, we must make Barbados work as a dynamic entity that serves every category of person in our country. We need national reform to the extent that most of our institutions are relatively free of political interference. I say relatively because I have to be objective. We will not have a situation where there is no political interference at all. We will always have some. And national reform, that any head of any major national institution can say anything, and we as the people can believe him or her. Last week, the central bank's governor spoke of the stabilization of the country's foreign reserves. But the question I want to ask the governor of the central bank is this: how many applications does the central bank have that are awaiting approval? And what is the value of those applications? I want to ask the question again. How many applications are there before the central bank for foreign exchange that are awaiting approval? And what is the value of those applications? It's only then will I be convinced that the foreign reserves have stabilized. You see, it is like a housewife. She is making $1,000 a month. Okay? And this month she decides she will not pay her light bill. She will not pay her water bill. She will not buy food. She will keep her children home from school and so that she wouldn't have to spend the money on bus fare or anything like that. Also, she wouldn't have to give them money for lunch. And all the things she needs to do, she refuses to do. She looks in her hands and she sees she still has $1,000. You know who that housewife is fooling? Herself. If you've got bills and you refuse to pay them, it will look like you have a lot of money in your hands, but actually you don't. And that's why I'm asking the governor of the central bank, what is the value of the applications for foreign exchange that he has and that have not been approved? Because the applications are still there. There may be businesses or people who want foreign exchange, who are waiting them, but they cannot get them because the government decides he is not paying them. That can be a case. So therefore the reserves will look as though they're healthy. And the other question is, if they have stabilized, at what level has the reserves stabilized? I want to know what's the level. Is it 300 million, 500 million? Is it 100 million or less? You see why we need national reform? Mr. Peter Booth, I'm with you on this one. I would really like to hear from you. I would really like to know what you're thinking in terms of national reform. We can do very well with your thoughts. Thank you. This has been Refocusing Barbados, and we intend to refocus the country's attention. We need to do some serious work with our country to get it out of where it's at. Our country is in a bad state. Thank you.